Well, hello and welcome back to our Meet the Staff series. Today I'm sitting down with Will, our associate pastor.
Hi.
Thanks for being here.
Good to be here.
Just to start us off, what is it kind of like to be the associate pastor? I think most people kind of see you running around putting out fires, either literally or metaphorically, on Sundays. And we just kind of want to get to know what it is that an associate pastor does.
Well, I didn't start as an associate pastor. So when I came aboard here, I was hired to become the operations director here at FCC.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is that I've run a lot of big stores in downtown
Mm-hmm.
in the city, and was used to dealing with lots of customers, high volume, just the busyness of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that would be the perfect thing that would translate over, to a busy, exciting, church where I was attending. And I found out that there were quite a few things that I still needed to learn here. So working at a church was having to relearn everything. Once you learn everything, I think your perspective changes in a lot of different ways. And so I don't think I'm at the end of the road. It's an ongoing process just to understand all of the ins and outs of not just ministry, but dealing with a 10-acre campus. So it is a big piece. It is a big property that I love, and I'm very thankful that God has given to us. But it takes a lot to maintain. I can only speak for myself, but this kind of guy, I'm very task driven. So you can give me a whole list of things to do, and I love to knock those things out. But here I had to learn how to do it just from a different perspective. Not everything is numbers, not everything is math. There's a little bit more that you have to think about in the way in which you're doing things.
Yeah.
And how they can impact people. As far as an associate pastor, that role to me is just supporting the entire team. The associate when the pastor isn't here, it's just to make sure that you are able to help people accomplish their goals, and tie that in with an operations, also the physical ends of that, just to make sure that they have everything and that they're equipped.
What's it kind of like now, because we don't sell anything? What's it kind of like to feel like, what's the marker for success as like an operations associate pastor?
I think it completely changes the way that you look at everything. So in business, you look at numbers, you look at units, and you look at speed, and you look at just number of people that you took care of in 1 hour, and and then you can parse those all down into their day parts. But with a church, we aren't selling anything. And I think for me, actually, when I first started here, I tried to use those same metrics. I tried to copy and paste them onto church, because if it works in the business world, hey, I'm sure it worked there. And I think some of the things worked well, but I think that they also can cause some damage. I think that when you're dealing with businesses, you're dealing with more of like prices and products. But when you're dealing with the church, you are dealing with God's people, and they all come at different speeds, they all come in different sizes, and they all come from different places. And sometimes I've seen amazing things happen in people's lives very, very quickly, and then some people it has taken a lot longer, because they're a different person and they're at a different place and they need different things. So realizing that successful ministry doesn't mean a crowded house. Successful ministry doesn't mean all this money being poured into the coffers. I think a successful ministry comes from having a church body that is connected, they have community together, that they care about one another, that they come around not just the personal social aspect, but they are also encouraging one another in the faith. And so I think that a successful church to me is a successful spiritual family. And family meaning that we're willing to walk beside each other in the hard times, and we're willing to share each other's burdens, and we're willing to carry one another once in a while. And either that or sometimes just show up and spend some time with another person. And so I'm kind of a guy that loves to be able to go in, and I think I would have worked in really well when kind of it seemed to be that we used to just want to drop flyers from 10,000 feet and talk to a bunch of people, and that seems to me to be a very efficient way to reach people, but that's not the way of Jesus, and Jesus did it one person at a time. And so I've really had to slow down in my actions and take longer in my thinking. And you know what, I'm sure that I make plenty of mistakes, but that's always my goal, isn't to polish off who I was, but to see what this new set of values does for me, not just in my job, but in my daily walk with my family, with my friends, with the people that I love.
I think a lot of us come from a similar background of like dropping the flyers from 10,000 feet. Like, hey, let's get the church postcard and we'll put it in people's mailboxes so they know about our Easter service or something like that. What's kind of been the transition for you going from kind of that background to a more one-on-one, personal, missional sort of approach?
I think that if you approach it from a business perspective, there's kind of always an agenda or an end goal. What your desire is. Hey, I'm building the kingdom. I'm filling the seats. We're, the bank's overflowing, whatever. So there's kind of like this end goal. And I think that the great thing about our God is that, in ministry, if there were 8 days a week and 26 hours in the day, it still wouldn't be enough time. And so I think the great thing is that what God puts in your place, and when you get involved in ministry, it is all about others, and it's all about people. And I think that when it comes to sales, it's kind of like, what do I want, and what is the target? What target am I setting? At the end of the day, Jesus gave us, the greatest commandment between us, which was to love each other as we love ourselves. And so that is the hardest thing to do, because I think, I'll be honest with you, getting closer to God has shown me how selfish I am with my time, how prideful I am, how I like to walk into a room and make everything about me. And so working in ministry really works on, I think, making me just a better human being. Not that that's the end goal, but I think because I'm paying attention to how I'm treating others more than I ever have. Before it was like sales, it was like pep talks, Yeah. But working with people here, you're dealing with some hurt, you're dealing with pain, you're dealing with issues that maybe something I haven't walked through. And so I think it just takes time, and I think this makes me a better human being because I'm just working with people instead of seeing them as a project. I mean, when you come here on a Sunday, there are so many people from so many different backgrounds. To me, it can only be God. So he calls us all here, but like what we do with that is really up to us. And so, there's no greater ministry, honestly, than like a table ministry where you sit down with somebody and you're equals and you're both at the same level and you're sharing a meal together. I think, I was really shocked at how much food was important to the church, and I was like, oh man, gosh, we eat a lot here, but like I really understand the importance of it now. And it's not just sharing sustenance, it's like sharing space, sharing time, sharing something together. And I think that we're very guarded. I think that as we get older, relationships, I think they seem very complicated, so we pick and choose. And then when we get older than that, though, we realize that those relationships are like, I don't know, the older you get, people become more important. I don't know why that is. I've chased so many things in my life, money and, and pleasure and position and authority. Nothing is better than working with people. I mean, and really not getting to know them just on a first name basis, like learning what makes them go, learning what they're going through, and at the same time being willing to share part of my own journey with them and trusting them, with some of my isms, and that list is very, very, very long, but like we're supposed to be like family. We're supposed to be like family, and I don't think the church is a place where we should be picking and choosing. Obviously, we're all different, but we have the most important thing in common, and that's the one person that we are all aspiring to be like. And so if I can love like Jesus, and I know I don't love like Jesus yet. I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to get there. So I think, the church can be a social club. It can be just like any other organization. But when we gather, it's supposed to be something so much more than that.
Yeah.
And so I don't miss Sundays because, I kind of work here, but I look forward to Sundays.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing everybody here on a Sunday. And it's not because of the paycheck, and it's not because of where they are on my project board. It's because I'm happy to see these people that had been willing to share their life with me for 20 years.
Well, thank you for sitting down and giving us kind of a peek behind the curtain of what it's like to be the associate pastor here at FCC. If you are interested in hearing more from us here at Fremont.Church, we have another video for you right here.